Hey guys, I haven't made a video for a while, mostly because I've honestly been really depressed. I've been kind of in this state of just being stuck in my head and just feeling this constant ache in my chest that I can't get rid of. So I've been spending a lot of time in bed and listening to music and just letting myself be sad because I tend to just shut down my emotions and not allow myself to be sad in the same way that when I'm happy, I feel like I'm not allowed to be happy, and so I shut that down. So I'm really just good at shutting down my emotions and numbing myself. Not the healthiest habit. But I think my main problem right now has been fixating on the past. Nostalgia, you would call it. I've been thinking a lot about my childhood and just things that happened, good or bad, but I've mostly been thinking about the good things. I've been thinking a lot about how nostalgia is sort of like a disease. It creeps into the darkest parts of my mind, and I have to pull out each piece and dissect it like a careful surgeon, looking at what I want to think of, what I want to remember, and what I'm choosing to cut out and not think about. I'll be walking outside and suddenly I'm a little kid in the dandelion weeds searching for crickets. But what I choose to forget is the chaos that was going on around me. I grew up in a bad neighborhood. There were gunfights, domestic violence, drug houses, robberies, and sometimes they were armed. Sometimes we'd get a knock on our door, and it would be an armed robbery, basically. But I didn't really notice those things as a kid because I was so caught up in my childhood that I honestly romanticized it. I turned it into a game. I turned the chaos and the danger into something interesting. I would wake up in the middle of the night, like at 1 or 2 a.m., and I would crawl to the window and try and see if I could catch somebody breaking into someone's car, which sounds crazy, but as a kid, I just didn't think it was crazy. I just was used to that. That was just my life. And then I would wake up my parents and talk to the cops and tell them exactly what I saw, and I felt proud about that. I didn't realize the gravity of it at all because none of it was truly real in my mind. I think was a lot of my childhood, is I romanticized things because it's not real. It's just a daydream, right? So I think a lot about my past, but I don't think about the bad things and the things that I chose to ignore then and the things that I choose to ignore now. When I'm doing my makeup, I think to my younger self who dug around in my mother's drawers trying on bright red lipstick, just like a new hat. What I choose to not remember is the girls who laughed at me the day that I was old enough to wear that lipstick. Again, with nostalgia, I'm choosing the good things and forgetting the bad things that were surrounding that. I drink coffee now because it helps me survive the day. But I drank coffee when I was a little kid because I wanted to be like my dad, because he made coffee every morning at 5 a.m. and I wanted to be like him, so I secretly started drinking coffee at 8 years old, which is way too young to drink coffee. Nowadays, I look in the mirror for way too long, aching to change what I see. But when I was a little kid, I stared into the mirror and pressed my hands on the glass, thinking it was a portal that I could dive into. And I romanticize that. I think about that a lot. And sometimes I wish that I could have that childlike sense of imagination that is just swapped out with mundanity. Not that mundanity is bad, but sometimes it can be depressing and lonely. So I feel nostalgic all the time, and that's my disease that I can't get rid of. But again, I choose to forget the bad parts. The nights I spent curled up in my closet crying because I didn't want to grow up, or how I refused to get on the bus because of the girls who made fun of my hair. And I think hair is a big part of my childhood too, and something that I used to romanticize, just doing my hair in my long curly locks and trying to figure it out. But I never really think about the struggle of it, how people made fun of when I couldn't figure it out, when it was too frizzy, when I thought it was straight, when it clearly isn't. And now I've figured out my hair, but that was a struggle when I was younger. But when I look back, all I can remember is like the young me who had these beautiful long locks of curly hair. Whatever. I think nostalgia is good in doses, but when it becomes an obsession, it takes us out of reality and it can send us down in a spiral. And I think that's where I'm at now. I'm kind of in this spiral part of nostalgia. Maybe it's just me, but sometimes I can't even get out of bed because I spend hours fixated on the past. The world is so chaotic right now, so I find safety in nostalgia because younger me didn't have to worry about the world falling apart, and now I do because I'm an adult. But what I think I'm trying to say is that there's a lot of emotions that are okay unless you let them take over, like nostalgia. And I'm trying to avoid that. And honestly, it is a struggle. It's hard to not let your past dictate where you are now. And it's also hard to think about the past and remember the hard things. It's so much easier to just block out those hard parts of your childhood or growing up and only think about the good parts, which is sometimes good because it gives you hope and it might help you get through the day because it reminds you that you were able to do that as a little kid. But I think that when I choose to ignore the fact that there were hard parts in my life, then I'm choosing to ignore the reality of nostalgia and what fixating on the past can do. I don't know if any of that made sense, but I just wanted to talk about it.